Hear that? I did a teacher in service once, and literally a woman on the front row sat looking the opposite direction for 2 hours. So you know what I did? I went around to the other side of the room and talked like this. And about halfway through, I said, now, how would you feel if one of your instructors, how would you feel if one of your students sat with their back turned to you the whole class? Just come up here if you don't mind. Got a small group. What's up? Come on in. And I don't think she expected me to say that. All right, so let me tell you what we're covering today. Let me tell you what we're covering today. Let me ask you this question. Left to our own devices, as an individual, left to our own devices, what is our standard default for a lot of people? Without any supervision, without anything, what is our standard, what do you think our standard default position is for a lot of people?
Task-oriented, administrative type.
Okay, task-oriented. All right, I'm going to do, now, because we're going to talk about this today. Does somebody have to give you those tasks? Because one of the things we're talking about today is this concept of taking a current situation as an employee and improving a situation. Okay, and so I want you constantly thinking, as all the things we're going to show you today, is how do I take any situation and when I touch it, it improves. It's better as a result of my involvement in it. Does that make sense? So let me go back to the question. The question is, left to our own devices, without the management of other people and the motivation from other people, what do you think most people's standard default is? Say again? Their self? Yes. So think of it this way. Here's what I think. It's path of least resistance. So left to our own devices, without any external motivation or management or directives, most people will take the path of least resistance. Yes. That is a standard default for most people. Okay? So as a team, I want you to start thinking of yourself, if we're a high-performance team, I want you to start associating these things with we each learn how to take very high levels of personal responsibility. Okay? And when I say very high levels of personal responsibility, that means every single thing we interact with during the day, every client, every team member, we begin taking total ownership of that. Okay? Because in my estimation, most people take very low levels of responsibility. Like it's somebody else's job to sell, and it's somebody else's job to service, and it's somebody else's job to clean up. You know, so here's an example. At the end of every day, if I'm the last one here, I take the trash out. And I try to teach my employees, if you're the last one here, you take the trash out. You know why? If you leave trash in there, it's going to be gnats. You want to work with a bunch of gnats in here every day? But if I don't say that, people will leave and not take the trash out because they'll say, well, that's somebody else's responsibility. Does that make sense? I try to teach my team that when we teach Monster Producer on Friday, people throw toilet paper, stuff all over the floor in those bathrooms. Now, a low-level responsibility would say, well, that ain't our job. I mean, we don't own the building. Somebody else owns the building. They ought to come out here and do this. A high level of personal responsibility is I don't care who put the toilet paper on the floor, you get down there and pick it up because our customers are going in there to use the bathroom. Does everybody see this? Now, so what I'm trying to get across to you is most teams that I work with operate with very low levels of responsibility. Okay? And so when you're thinking about what this means to you and your company, it means if there's a problem, and I'm going to speak to you as if I owned your company, you work for me, okay? If there's a problem, instead of you bringing that problem to my attention as the owner, you take the initiative to solve that problem. Does that make sense? Like you don't wait on me to solve it. You don't bring it to me because I have other things to worry about. Here's an example. Our television in the back went out last week. So if an employee comes to me and says, television don't work, Coach Burt. Okay. So what would a person with very high levels of responsibility do?
Get your credit card.
Here's what they'd say. Can I have your permission to take a company credit card and go over to Target and get us a new television? See the difference? Low-level responsibility is, hey, Coach Burt, television don't work. Everybody see this? Now, why do most people do that? Because when you understand psychology, you understand that most people are hardwired to take the path of least resistance. This is somebody else's job. All right, let's look at it from this perspective. When it comes to renewing customers, and when you're in a subscription model where people are paying monthly, you can say, well, it's not my job to call on those people to renew those customers. Or you can say, it is everybody's job to renew these customers. Does that make sense? It's everybody's job. So when you're thinking about this is almost an uncommon thing in today's world because of so much blame. It's somebody else's responsibility. Whose responsibility is it to help create revenue for the company? Now, that's right, everybody who wants to stay employed. Because what happens is when you don't generate enough revenue, you're seeing big companies right now. State Farm just went through huge layoffs. Supposedly one of the most successful companies in the world, and they're laying people off like crazy. Mortgage companies I'm coaching right now are laying people off left and right because the rates are ticking up, the house demand is going down, and because of that, they don't need all those people. Does that make sense? So I have a theory, and my theory is there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer. So we always prepare as if the winter's coming, and we want to be ready for winter. And the way we're ready for winter is we never stop doing our thing, man. We just get up every single day. Now, so give me some examples in your company of where you think everybody takes a lower level of responsibility. Because I know it's very easy to, I was an assistant coach for a guy for 3 years. And here was my thought process. Whatever he needs, I'm going to provide it. So I would say, can I drive the bus? Can I fill it up? Can I sweep the floor? Can I babysit your kids? Can I? And when he said things, he would say them out loud. Like, I don't like this. I don't like that. He never would directly say, Coach Burt, I want you to do this. So I had 2 assistants that sat by me who would just go, yeah, you're right. I don't like that either, Coach. I don't like that either. Here's what I would do. I had a notepad. And everything he said he didn't like, I made a note of it. And I'd go to him the next day and say, with your permission, I'd like to solve that problem for you, please. He'd say, absolutely. Will you solve that problem for me? And he would just, during games, get mad, and he would just say things. We don't do this good. We don't do this good. We don't do this good. I heard that as a direct command to solve that problem for him. So I'd come in the next day, and I'd say, Coach, I'm going to bring the players in early. I'm going to keep them late. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Is that okay with you? And he'd always say, go for it. And so I quickly became his favorite employee. Everybody understand? Now, how does being the favorite employee play to your advantage? Because I don't care. You're people don't play favorites, don't play favorites. Total BS, man. Everybody plays favorites. Okay? I'm going to tell you who I like. I like people who show up with batteries included and get the job done. I do not like people who show up and whine and complain and make excuses. Okay? So if you want to know who my favorites are, Marvel, who are my favorites? My favorites are people who get the job done. So it's only human and natural that I show favoritism to those people. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? What's the benefit of that to you as a person? A, it secures your job, number one. Because when times get tough, the first people to go are people the owner says, look, this ain't doing the job. They're out. Okay? So think about this. I became a must-have versus a nice-to-have to him. So when it came time to promote, he said, there's only one person I'm promoting, and it's this guy right here. Because I was a constant problem solver for him. But somewhere along the way, my mother instilled this high level of personal responsibility in me. Like, you are responsible for everything, whether it's your job or not. Okay? So let's talk about, what do you see within your groups that you feel like there is a little bit of a lower level of responsibility where people kind of wait until told? Like, a low level responsibility is, I will do whatever you tell me to, you just got to tell me to do it. Does that make sense? So think about that. That's a low level of responsibility. I sit and I wait. Now, if you tell me to do it, I'll do it. And I'll do a good job of it. But I don't bring any initiative. I don't bring any hunger. I don't bring any curiosity. Like I reward curiosity. Like, if you want to learn something from me, just get right up close to me, get on the bus with me, ask me questions, watch how I work. Be interested, be curious, be like, hey, how do I do this better? How do I call? Can I listen to your phone call? Will you call this person for me? How would you handle this objection, Coach Burt? Why did you write a book like this? Like I'm a big person that rewards curiosity. Like, if you're curious, I'll coach you. But if you're not curious, I don't spend any time with you. I only coach people because it's a drag on my energy to coach people who don't seem interested. It's a compounder of my energy if I'm playing pitch and catch with a person. Like, hey, this person's interested. Like they want to learn, they want to get better. So give me some examples over here on your team, and be thinking about your team where you think, now, I'm not fussing on you guys. I'm just trying to say, to get to a high level of performance, every employee has to have this concept of a high level of personal responsibility. Okay, so what would you say? What would you see? Because you got a bunch of young cats here. These are all young guns. Right now, let me tell you something. They never had any classes in school on this. This is a shame. This is why I got the Kids Academy. because I went to college for 9 years, by the way, to get 3 degrees. And I never had a class in how to take personal responsibility of everything, even if it was my fault or not. Like I never was taught that. So you guys are young, 20-something years old, and you're out there in the world. Standard default is, well, wait till Adam tells you to prospect, and then you prospect. Wait till he tells you to follow up, then you follow up. Wait till he says, hey, need to do a better job servicing our customers. Then you do that, okay? So what do you see that you feel like that could be raised?
You know, a lot of times when we have, say, an angry customer, maybe someone that's not renewed or canceled, that usually comes to me as a manager to deal with. But today, actually, JC, who's been with us a little over 3 months, he just handled it. He got a complaint. Someone's being not renewed, they're not happy. He handled it. So that's the type of things that
Right.
I need them to do, kind of take it off my plate.
That's good. Good. Now, whose responsibility is that when you got an angry customer? It's everybody's responsibility. It shouldn't just have to be, well, it's got to go all the way to the main person, and the main person has got to handle it. Because what the tactics and strategies that the main person uses, you could use too. Like when I get complaints or objection, I use the same formula every time. I listen, I acknowledge, I isolate, I validate, and then I challenge the person. That makes sense? Well, anybody on my team could do that. But to do it with a level of certainty. Does that make sense? Okay? All right. So where do you think? All progress starts by telling the truth, by the way. High level of self-awareness is also a high level of personal responsibility. Like I have a very high level of awareness. Where do you guys think that y'all could do a better job of taking personal responsibility? High level of personal responsibility.
I say definitely kind of piggybacking off of that would be, I mean, just taking initiative. Maybe I'm walking out of my office to go to the restroom or something, and I hear an angry customer. Instead of kind of squeezing behind the wall and trying to be unseen, stepping out there and be like, hey, why don't you just come back here with me and let's take care of this? Not to the bathroom, but to my office.
Now, here's what's funny. When you said that, let me tell you what I went back to. Let me tell you what I thought of. When I was 18 years old, I worked in a bank as a teller. Hated it. Hated every day. Hated everything about it. But here's how low the responsibility was. When people would come in that tellers didn't want to service, they would hide. Like somebody would come in that was like, somebody's service, all the tellers would get down, they're looking underneath the thing. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like that's one of our customers, right? But that's literally how they thought, is they tried to get out of it. People would go to the bathroom and stay gone for 30 minutes. People that were supposed to end their workday at 5 would start shutting their computer down at 4. You see what I'm saying? People supposed to be there at 8:30 would get there at 8:29. And here I'm thinking, this is such a low level of responsibility on all these people's part. So here's the point. None of those people are ever going to prosper, number one. You can't shortcut your way to prosperity. Would you agree with that? You can't cut your way to being wealthy. You can't, it's never going to work this way, okay? There is no shortcutting the process. The process must be paid, the price must be paid, and the process must be followed. If there was a get-rich-quick theme or some kind of thing, right, then everybody would be doing it, okay? It just don't work like that, okay? So, to your point, this concept of personal responsibility it's my deal, okay? Trash is on the floor over at the Farm Bureau office. Whose fault is it? It's our fault. Who picks it up? Everybody. Everybody. It's not. We don't say, well, there's a maintenance man coming in at 5 o'clock today, so they can pick it up. It's our responsibility, okay? So this is kind of how I want you thinking. Now, so I hear a lot from, and that's what I met with my team about this morning, is I hear a lot, well, this don't work, or I can't get in touch with them, or, the music don't work because somebody unplugged the speakers, so we can't have any music today. We can't find this, and I'm like, those are all low levels of responsibility. You can get in touch with them if you try hard enough. Something you're doing is not working. Well, you can figure out how to get the speakers working. Okay? You can figure out how to do this. You didn't do it. Right? And I'm trying to just completely eliminate that on my team altogether. Of just that kind of thing. Okay? What about you guys? Where do you think y'all could get better at this?
Well, we've got a big, huge spot that we've got to get better at now is probably follow up.
Yeah.
Just like quotes that we didn't close last year,
Okay.
things like that, going back to things that we know people want to do business with us and
Yeah.
going back and earning it from them.
Now, I want you to think about this.
Time to
When a person wants to leave you, what are they really saying? That's exactly right. And they're typically saying, I'm not getting enough attention. Right? That's really what I think when a person wants to quit. They're not engaging with your product or service. So just remember this, where there's no engagement of your product and service, it's no different than you. If I don't come in more than once every 3 or 4 months, there's not enough engagement for me to go refer you to anybody. Does that make sense? Because there's no usage of the product or service. And if you only go in 3 or 4 months, maybe it shows a nominal difference in how you feel. It doesn't move the needle enough for a person to go out there in the world and tell everybody, you got to go over there. So just remember this statement, where there is no usage of a product or service, there can be no transformation. That means there's no change. And where there's no change, there's nothing for me to tell anybody. Like, what do you want me to tell people? It was average? Right? So this is why in residual models, insurance, or really everybody here, where people are paying monthly, it is very important, A, to get people to class. It is very important to get people in the door. It is very important to have conversation with them. Even if they say, I don't want to have conversation with you, it's okay. We still just want to work, right?
Statistically speaking, in our industry,
Yeah.
if we offer to sit down and do a policy review with a customer, retention is just as good as if we actually did it.
That's exactly right.
Every statistic.
That's right. Yeah. And in your industry, you know, it's not something people wake up in the morning and say, man, I can't wait to go to an insurance meeting today. You know? So my point is, Marvel, what business are you in? Yes, that's right. So here's the deal. ADS did my security. I never hear from them. They never come back and check on whether it's working or not. Do they do a good job when he thinks somebody's breaking in the house? Yes. But here's the deal. The guy who sold me that, I've never heard from him again. Not one time. Now, here's his mistake. How many people could I be referring him to? Hey, this week alone, I'm going to see 200 tomorrow in Pittsburgh, 400 in New Jersey on Wednesday, another 100 in Salt Lake City, plus some more people. I'm going to see 1,000 people this week. See, the mistake he made was selling me that and never coming back and engaging me. Right? Never trying to get involved with me. Never seeing what's going on in my life. That's the mistake he made. He thought he just sold another security system. What he missed out on was the 6 to 10 other security people I could got him. So where there's no engagement, this is real. Listen, here's a stat that I think is ridiculous. Less than 9% of people remember their salesperson's name after the transaction is over. 91% of people don't even remember the salesperson's name that helped them. So what's the likelihood of them referring you to somebody else? Eric, who sits in the back right here, gets easy commissions on people because that's the first person a lot of people think to call in my company. Because he's built a relationship with them, he's talking to them. So when they say, you know, Coach Burt's running a special this month to get, you know, next year for free, plus a person for free, first they just reach out to Eric, hey, go ahead and sign me up for that, because he's talking to them so much. So it's really easy money. It's easy commission money if you just understand this concept of constantly talk to people, constantly touch base with people. Hey, and I would tell them, I want to be your personal contact. Anytime you need anything from us, you call me. This is my cell number. Because when they want to renew something or buy something, you know, the other day, a guy called in and wanted to buy, $1,500 worth of books. Because Eric talked to him last week, he went straight to Eric. Hey, I want to buy, 100 books of this. So what I'm saying is high levels of personal responsibility is I'm not just going to sell you today. I'm going to keep selling you on the value we're creating for you. And I'm going to come back to you and engage with you. And I'm going to come back to you and ask you for some referrals. And I'm going to always be here for you. That's a high level of personal responsibility. Now, in your industry right here, how many people actually do that? Very few. Most people sell the policy. They never talk to their customer again, right? And that's very low level of responsibility, in my opinion. Okay? All right, so here's another one. To your point, To me, there's 3 things the owners of the company need to be doing every day. A high level of responsibility is you need to be freeing your owner up to do these things. If your owner has to do anything else than what I'm about to tell you, then something in your little shop ain't working right. Everybody with me? The owner should be doing one thing, okay? And that one thing is this: creating new revenue So your owner needs to be out there talking to, pitching, selling. As much of their time as you can free them up to sell is what they need to be doing. Okay? The second thing they need to be doing is getting current clients to a better place. Better state, I'm going to call it. Because this is where your referrals come from. The third thing your owner needs to be doing is they need to be promoting. So if they need to be doing shows, podcasts, Facebook Lives, they need to be in some form of promotion. Now, last month we talked about the difference between a promotion cycle and a sales cycle. But here's the problem, and this is what I told Jennifer. It's your deal. I said, Jennifer, you do a bunch of promoting. That's all good. What you need to do is do a bunch of selling. These are 2 different skills. Everybody see this? Promotion is I'm on Facebook, I'm going to events, talking to people, I'm taking pictures. Selling is me picking up that phone and calling Gabe and saying, Gabe, when's the last time you've been in to get a massage, big guy? Because we got to get you in there. Everybody with me? Now.
I'm the one person she did that to.
Now, here's the deal. That's a sales cycle, and that's the part that ain't sexy. That's the part nobody wants to do. It's so much more fun to go on Facebook and go to events and be seen and take pictures. That does not lead to money. I do all that stuff, but every day we're making outbound phone calls. Calling, texting, emailing. Understand what I'm saying? That's the sales cycle. And the sales cycle is, what are we doing today to create some revenue? Now, here's what I think a lot of people do, and this is a mistake. They rely on one person to do all the selling. Now, does that make sense? Like if I'm only relying on me, that's a problem, because I got to do a lot of this right here. Me relying on one person like Eric or just one person like Lakin, that's my fault. I don't need 2 people. I need 10 people or 20 people or 30 people. Everybody see that? Like if we just got one person making outbound phone calls over at the Nurture Nook, you see what I'm saying? Then it's too dependent on one person. There's only so much one person can do during the day. And because of that, we don't make enough calls. Because we don't make enough calls, we don't get to the 16% of people. Does that make sense? So we're not even going through enough volume to hit our numbers because we're not making enough outbound calls. So if your owner of your company, these people are sitting here, is having to do anything but these things, is that a low value of their time, yes or no? It's taking time away from creating revenue or getting clients to tell you to do something. Like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Low value of your owner's time. Okay, so what's the purpose of the team? The purpose of the team is we need to free that person up so that we can create more revenue. Okay, everybody see what I'm saying here? All right, so these are things that need to be happening every day. So 2 hours of prospecting should be happening every day in your company. Minimum of 2 hours of outbound calls every day. And if it's not happening, what are you doing all day? Right? Like, what do you do? I hear people say all the time, like, we're real busy. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay? Servicing customers, yes, but if we don't have a deep, intense focus on new money, there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer. So when we don't prospect every day, we wake up one day and we're like, where's all the customers at? Right? And I'm telling you, I am obsessed with new money, man. Like I am like totally focused every day. Where are we? Where should we be? Where are we in relationship to go? How many people are we calling today? How many people are we getting to class? How many people are we doing this? You see what I'm saying? Sales cycle, okay? All right, what about you ladies? When it comes to high levels of personal responsibility, where do you think you guys slack off?
First of all, we're a little different. We have a boss, an owner,
Yeah.
who did it herself for so many years.
Yes.
She's very, very difficult to get to delegate.
Yes.
And let them,
Yep.
I'm not saying anything bad about her, it's a challenge.
Sure.
Because she wants us to be responsible, but she has a
Yeah.
hard time delegating responsibility because she's
Yep.
done it herself for so long. It's her baby, I get it.
That's right. Yes.
And then they would still have something different.
Yeah.
Because she likes the way she does things.
Yep.
And we respect that. So
Yep.
we don't, you know, we don't tip the boat.
Yep.
We try not to. Like,
Yeah.
we tip the boat sometimes.
Sure.
So it's really hard. That's our challenge.
All right, so let me ask you this question. Let's go back to, let's take her out of the equation and say I own the company. You work for Coach Burt. Aren't y'all excited?
Check, please.
Now, because I got a high level of expectation. And I'm a control freak. And it is my baby because I started it with nothing. And no loans, no lines of credit, no customers, no nothing. I've seen employees come, I've seen them go. I've seen people come, I've seen them go. That makes sense? So this is called rugged individualism, what you're talking about. You know about this too. Rugged individualism is where here's what we have been listen, let me tell you why. We have been let down so much by so many people that what we begin doing is we just say, fuck it, I'll do it myself. Because that's the only thing that I've ever been able to count on is me. Now, the problem with that thinking is we can't. So I've got new employees, and here's my motto. If they could get it to 80% of the way I would do it, I'm fine with that. So this is called the 80% rule. Because I used to think they got to do it exactly. If they don't do it exactly the way I do it, it ain't good enough. Now, where I'm at today is this. And then I started spending time with people who had scaled their companies. I.e. went from 1 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 500. And the first thing they said is you cannot be a perfectionist and scale anything. Because the further it gets away from the owner, listen, if you don't think that Sam Walton is rolling over in his grave right now about how Walmart is ran, you've lost your mind. If you don't think the McDonald's brothers would go crazy about how McDonald's are run today, because it ain't even close to the way they did it. Everybody with me? But it's still profitable, and they still make a fortune, right or wrong. So I've got one buddy that started a company. He got up to 700 real estate agents. And here was his management motto: don't bother me. I'm going to pay you a good salary, and I don't want you to ever call me. Don't talk to me. Don't call me. Don't ask me any questions. You are completely in charge. And he never showed up at the office. Nobody ever knew where he was. And I'm sitting there thinking, I could never do that. And he sold that company for like $12 million. And here's what he said. I hired people, and I let them do their job, and I stayed out of their way. My job was just to own the company. That's how he saw that, okay? Now, so how do you solve this problem of you got an owner, and a lot of the owners are type A's.
You just described every small business owner in there.
A lot of small business, yeah.
That's the hardest thing for any business owner
Yeah.
to do is to let go.
And she wants to maintain, because we've got a different type of spa, that you can brag about all you want, anytime you want to. It's not the, massage duties and stuff. You come in and
That's
it's
right.
different.
It is different.
She's got something very neat, and so she wants to maintain that integrity
Yep.
and hang on to that.
Yep.
And so she has a certain way of, she wants everything
So
done.
I want to ask Chelsea this question. Chelsea's new working with me. You probably admit that I'm a little bit of a control freak. Okay? All right, so how do you get me to back off of you, okay, and let you do your thing without feeling like I'm controlling it? What could you do to make me feel comfortable enough for me to go, it's yours, go do it?
Just take initiative and start solving problems before he ever has to deal with it, for one. But I also had a conversation with him of, I'm losing momentum by waiting till I'm around you because he travels all the time. And I asked for a little bit of that freedom to run with things.
Yeah. So what I think there's got to be a conversation that takes place where you say, look, I want you to feel completely comfortable as the owner of this company, right? Because it's your baby. I want to take more initiative than what I'm currently taking. I want to go out there and deliver the goods for you. Anything you don't like about what I do, you got 100% license to tell me, and I'll change it immediately. But we can never get bigger if we don't delegate this. See, I think what you got to do is, in a type A personality, what we do is our croc brain is alerted a lot, which means our defensive part of our nature comes in. It's like, oh, here we go again. We hired this person, and they were complete bozo, and they didn't do their job, and you kind of held hostage by things that happened in the past. And it's really not fair to you, to be honest with you.
So, if there's two ways to do things that are both completely correct.
Yep, yep.
That one doesn't, she's got her ideas and some of her opinions and some of her
Sure.
not, but she wants it done exactly the way. So sometimes
That's right.
we're not mind readers.
Yeah.
I guess,
All right, what if I told you that I'm paying you to be a mind reader? Could you read my mind? Could you watch my patterns and anticipate?
That's where I'm at.
There you go.
I've been there for almost 2 years.
There you go.
Mariah's more than that.
There you go.
I do that. Like,
Yeah.
I can think of how she thinks and stuff in a lot of ways.
That's right.
But, you know,
Well, to your point, what you're saying is when Steve Jobs taught people at Apple, when they put them through Apple University, they did not teach them product knowledge. They put them through scenario-based training, and they asked this question: what would Steve do in this scenario? And they tried to get everybody at Apple to think like he thought. So if it ain't good enough for Steve Jobs, we don't need to push it through. Because a lot of people try to shortcut it, and he had such high standards. I try to teach my people how to think like I think. Now, they're not going to, because they don't have the same pedigree I have. They don't have the years of experience I do. So let's go back to that 80% rule. If you're an owner in the room, you need to say if they could get it to 80% of the way you would do it, that's 100% good. That's 100% effective. So that's a good model to operate off of. Okay? Marvel, what about you? What do you think you got to take a higher level of personal responsibility?
Well, I was taking some notes back here. One thing I think we're guilty at my company and myself, I like when you say less than 91% of people remember the salesperson after the transaction.
That's right.
So this year we had a decent year, but I don't think that we,
Yes.
tomorrow when I get to the office, I'm going to print off every last customer that we have.
That's right.
And that's going to be our thing, reaching out to those customers,
That's right.
seeing how you're doing, who
That's right.
do you know that might need our service.
That's right.
Because that's old money.
That's right.
We need
That's old money.
We need new clients.
Yep.
And the other thing that I made a note of, owners should be creating new revenue. That was one of the things. But that 2 hours of outbound calls.
Yes.
Because we got several people in the office, and I see it. They got the earpiece on. Might be talking to their mother. They might be
Right.
talking to
That's
someone.
right.
Everything. But they seem like they've had a very busy day, but it wasn't productive.
That's right. That's a great way.
So now I want to take that to 4 hours.
That's right.
Of outbound calls each day.
Good.
Because we're in that office about 9 hours.
Yes.
So about 4 of it, I want you guys reaching out to all of your clients, because if you don't, I will be.
Now, that's right. Are they compensated on sales?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So in a logical world, if you're compensated on selling something, you'd be making outbound calls every day. Yes or no? Yes. You would be shocked how much creative avoidance adults have. You know what creative avoidance is? They find anything in the world to do besides what they should be doing. Right? And I'm almost to the point that I'm like, look, if I see you pick up that phone one more time and it's not calling one of our customers, it's texting somebody, or whatever you got going on, I'm just going to take the phones up at the door when you come in. Because this is a place of business. You're being compensated to produce and create revenue and sell. You're not to text people and have, you need to talk to my wife about how much we talk during the day. And ask her, do I call her right in the middle of the day and have all these long conversations about life and love? I talk quick. Hey, sweetie, what do you need? Bam. Because she knows when I'm at work, what am I doing? Working.
Your wife, my wife.
So here do I say, you like living in that big house we live in? Yes. Okay, then. You can't call me during the day. Because I got to go create some revenue. Okay? So I guess what I'm saying is there's a high value of our time and there's a low value of your time, to what Marvel's saying. There's a low value of time, and low value of time is any activity that you participate in the day that's got nothing to do with one of those three things. We're creating new revenue, I'm on the phone with a current customer trying to get them to a better place, right? Or we're doing some type of promotion. And the biggest trend I see in today's world is too much time on promotion and not enough time on these two. Okay? These are key things that you got to get in your brain. Okay? Now, let's go down to the next one. When you understand about taking a scenario and adding to it, you see this right here? In every scenario, you're either an asset or a liability to another person. An asset adds. So what could you add? And you know, we got our accountants over here. They look at profit and loss statements, balances, accounting statements, but there are assets that do not show up on a profit and loss statement. Chris, if I ask you that, could you know what I'm talking about? What are assets that show up on a profit and loss that do not show up on a profit and loss statement that are assets? That's right. relationship capital. Time, energy, attitude, problem-solving skills. These are assets that do not show up on a traditional accounting statement, right? And these are assets that I'm constantly looking for. So addition is, I show up today, remember I'm your owner, and you give me 10 problems. That's on top of the 10 problems I already got when I showed up. Hey, we got a problem with this person, this person, this person, this person. This. Hey, this ain't working. Hey, that don't do it. Hey, this. Now, is that an asset or liability? High-level personal responsibilities. I show up, Adam, we had 4 issues yesterday, took care of all of them, didn't even need to include you. If it gets big enough, I'll tell you about it. High-level personal responsibilities, I walk in every day and I add something to the equation. And sometimes it's just energy. It's just good attitude. Show up, batteries included. Got a good smile on. Friendly, ready to go. Hey, I'm here to serve. What can I do to help you? Meeting and greeting people. I'm on the phones. What do you need me to do? Right? And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do we instill that in employees? Or is it just factory installed in some people? You know, some people just, it's from a little age they got it. Now, give me an example of liability. Liability subtracts. So how do you subtract? You show up unprepared. You don't have a plan. You got a bad attitude. You're not creating revenue for us. You're bringing problems to the equation. And a lot of it are personal problems you bring from home. Personal dramas that happen outside of the confines of work that you bring into the confines of work. So all day long I've got to sit there and text somebody because there's a drama going on. Listen, I know, I've been 20 to 30 before. Seems like years ago. But you know, girlfriend problem, this problem, so-and-so problem, and I'm sitting there dealing with this. But I didn't have somebody coaching me going, hey, that's a low value of your time. You don't need to be doing it. You don't need to be doing that here at work, okay? So I want you to think about how you constantly, because I have a theory called immediate asset. I think within a few seconds, another person sums you up as either an asset or a liability. I mean, I think it's literally like this. It's like you are adding something to my life or you're subtracting something from my life. So I wrote an article once called Immediate Asset. How do you become an immediate asset to other people? All right, now, we've got some insurance people here, so let me give you an example. I'm eating out here once at a restaurant in Murfreesboro. A guy walks up to me afterward. Used to be a real estate agent. And he said, Coach, you came over and spoke to our team. Really enjoyed it. Now I'm selling insurance. And he reaches in his back pocket and he says, here's my business card. It's my daughter's business card, by the way. He said, here's my business card, and if you ever need any insurance, you call me, Coach Burt. Here's what I'm thinking. I don't even know who you are. I've never met you. That is of no value to me whatsoever. So let's go back. Take my concept of immediate asset. What could he have done? Okay. What could he? Okay. All right. Let's take it even one step further. Coach Burt, I saw you speak at my old real estate company, and I really enjoyed it. I am now with a new insurance company. What I'd like to do is try to get you in there to speak to them. That makes sense? What I'd like to do is buy 10 of your books, Coach Burt. What I'd like to do is come over and check out your coaching program. I'd like to add something to your life. Before I do what? Ask for your business. So I walked out of that thinking, that's crazy, man. I don't know you. You built no rapport with me, and you expect me to leave who I've been with for years and come to you because I met you outside of a restaurant. That's how people think. You need to think, what can I do? And this is a new book. I've got my team. We're about to start reading this. This is by Robert Greene. Robert Greene wrote the 48 Laws of Power. He wrote 33 Strategies of War. He wrote The Laws of Human Nature. He wrote a book called Mastery. He is a deep cat, okay? And in this book about power is, what he saw is, power is an exchange. One definition of power is a means or source for supplying energy. That makes sense? When you see powerful people, they are means or sources for supplying energy to other people. How did they get to those levels? Is because they've mastered how to deal with other people. They've mastered how to get people to do what they need them to do to move the ball down the field, okay? And so one of the first law of power is never outshine the master. And outshining the master is when you upstage somebody who is in power, okay? And this happens a lot. So your desire to be bigger than them overshadows them. Because you overshadow them, they don't say anything. You just lose their support. Okay? And that's why you constantly hear me say monster producer. The worst thing you can lose from a person of interest is their what? Support. Because what happens is they take all of that support. Let's say I'm sending people to the Nurture Nook. Nurture. I love it, and somewhere along the way, they do something to me and I don't like it. I take all of that power where I was sending it to you, and I just take it right over to somebody else, give it to them. That's how the world works. Does that make sense? Like I was supporting you, but you lost my support. Now that support is going to somebody else, which means all my referrals, all my leverage, all my money, all my network. That's how power works. So so one of the things you do that is by outshining the master. And I know because I've done it before. Before I read that law, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's been times in my life that I outshined the main person. You should always give credit to the people who brought you there, not try to outshine the person who brought you there. That makes sense? Same thing happens in referrals. So McAlexander brings me a referral, but I don't thank him for that referral. So next thing you know, he ain't sending me any referrals because he got his feelings hurt because I never thanked him. Everybody with me? So this is a very important concept here, okay? Todd, what about in your shop, this high levels of personal responsibility? How can you see you're training your staff on some of these things that you feel like they could do a better job of getting up to this level?
Well, one day a week I take the trash out myself. I make sure they all see it.
That's right. That's exactly.
So, but you know, just like you said, like showing up in the high energy and things of that nature, just doing a simple task. I mean, it's really simple. It's not that simple, evidently. You know.
Yep.
Some people, like you said, you know, want to pass by the trash like somebody else is going to keep pick it up. You know, when
Right.
you only got 10 or 12 of you trying to run a multi-million-dollar company. You know, so,
Right.
You know, I don't know if that's what you're asking or not.
Yeah. Well, that's literally what we're talking about here. Now, look at this concept. This is what I was teaching my team this morning. This is a biblical concept. In the Bible, it says when a man asks you to go 1 mile, go 2. Now, what does that mean? That means I ask you for something, okay? Let me put it in our terms. I say, I call you and I notice that you weren't in class this month. We know we need you in class because we can't help you unless you show up. I noticed you didn't register this month. I could say, just go to CoachBurt.com and register. Or I could say, let me look at the next 5 classes we have. Let's go ahead and check your schedule right now, and I'd love to register for you. Now, everybody see that? Whatever step you've taken it, take it one more step. Because what I see a lot of people doing is making people work hard. Like you make them work too hard, and they're sitting there like, golly, man. Well, here's what insurance people do. Hey, I'm unclear on how much I'm paying. Oh, just go to the website, and it's got the quote on the website of what you pay every month. You know, but you got to log into a portal, and you got to do this, and you got to do these 5 steps to find out what you're paying every month. Versus saying, hey, no problem. Let me get into the system right now and tell you exactly how much you're paying. Does that make sense? So when a person asks you to go 1 mile, go 2 miles. And I travel a lot, so I'm really big on this. When I get into a foreign city and the car's not there to pick me up, and it's like, oh, well, just call Uber, you know. Well, Uber extends my time at the airport 30 or 35 minutes. Then I got to find the Uber. Then I got to try to get to the hotel. It would have been a whole lot better if he just said, hey, why don't we just have a car sitting there waiting on you, Coach Burt, when you get there. That'd be a lot easier on me. You follow what I'm saying here? Well, you don't know that unless you go on the road with me, and you're gone 14 or 18 hours, and you're dead tired, and you're exhausted, and you roll into a city at 10 o'clock at night, and you haven't eaten dinner, and you're mad and grumpy, and you haven't seen your family. You don't know that when you're in a nice little confined office every day, right? So it's hard for you to get your mind around, like, man, it's a jungle out there. Like, how do I go out there and do this, okay, and make it easy on people? So the +1 is take it one more step. And I could see a lot of people doing this a whole lot better. Take it one more step. Now, where did you learn this at? Critical thinking skills. What class did you have in critical thinking? No. Yeah. Think about it. Critical thinking skills is this actually happened in our office a lot. People would come in and this music would not work. The music wouldn't work. So the team can say, well, Coach Burt, I can't get the music to work, right? And so this morning I came in, I was messing around with it. Somebody unplugged the speakers at some point, and I thought, you know what? What would I do here? How do I get music? Because I want music. Well, we got a speaker right there that's sitting right over here. Take that speaker over there, hook it up to the Bluetooth. Next thing you know, boom, I got music. Because I thought, how do I solve this problem? Low-level responsibility is, hey, speakers don't work, coach. Right? So we don't have any music. Well, music's important to the culture. It's important to the energy. It's important, and more importantly, back to your point, it's what I want, and I'm the owner of the company. And if I want music playing, then by God, when I get here, I want music playing. You follow what I'm saying? So when you're thinking about these things, you may say, well, I don't like music because it distracts me. Well, if Gabe wants music, then you just got to suck it up, Buttercup, because it's his company. That's the way you got to think, okay? Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, by the way, because sometimes I get distracted by the music, okay? But my point is, when you're thinking about this concept of critical thinking, I just see too much low-level thinking. It's like nobody's really digging in here, man. I need you to think 2 or 3 steps past this. I don't need you to, right? And I see a lot of people who have worked in jobs for a long time that have never been trained in any of these things. It's like nobody's ever coached them. So I've been starting one thing with some of my team members is I've got one improvement point for them each week. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're on my team, I'm going to give you one thing every week I think you need to improve on. Okay? And it's not a negative thing or I'm not being negative towards you. Here's my point. I can't help you get to another level if I don't coach you. And if you can't take the coaching from me, then I can't get you to a higher frequency. And there's one point, just one thing I want you to focus on this week. I want you to focus on doing this. I want you to focus on doing this. I want you to focus on doing this. Like here's one. I hear you say a lot that you don't know or you don't know the answer to that question or this. I want you to eliminate that. I want you to say, I'll find it for you. Right? Bradley teaches his people when they answer the phone, hey, this is Coach Burt, I can help you. Not may I help you. I can help you. Hey, this is Michael Burt, Lightspeed, I can help you. So these little things that you get into when it comes to a team every day of high-functioning productivity. Now, what's the highest use of our time? Creating new revenue, creating current clients to a better state, referring out of those 3, where do you struggle? Tipton team, creating new revenue, getting current clients to a better place, or promotion?
I'd say promotion.
Okay. Now, give me an example of promotion. What is promotion?
Maybe like a client appreciation day.
That's right. I want you to think of promotion as multi-layered. It can be social media. It can be database blasts. It can be direct mail. It can be events. It can be client appreciation. I don't want one promotion strategy. I want all kinds of promotion strategy. I think I told you some of the best money I ever spent was ads that I put in local restaurants, high-end restaurants in all the gyms that said everybody needs a coach in life. Do you see one? So here's the deal. They were in the bathrooms. I spent $440 a month. I put them in all the high-end restaurants and the gyms in Murfreesboro, and I'm telling you, I thought it would never work in a million years. But there's 2 types of promotion there. I don't expect you to use the bathroom and then walk out of there and go, hey, I'm going to call you to be my coach. Here's what I expect you to say. Man, I see that dude everywhere. I see him everywhere. I'm here. I see him here. I see his bus. I see this. I see social media. I see him everywhere. Okay? That's an ROO strategy. My strategy is to become famous because I believe people that get the most attention make the most money. So I'm not looking at return on investment on everything. I'm not looking as I put $430 in and I got $800 back. I look at it as, hey, I want to dominate Murfreesboro. So everywhere you go, I don't want any other business coach out there other than me. If I was in insurance or did what you said, make sense? So to me, I got to saturate the market with as much promotion as I can. And I've even looked at, like they do in Vegas, these cars that drive around all day long with these big billboards, but they're ridiculously expensive. I'm saying ridiculously expensive. It'd be better for me to put somebody in my bus and just let them drive my bus around all day than to pay $20,000 or $30,000. I'm like, man, I'm not paying you $20,000 or $30,000 to drive around. But my point is, it's not a bad strategy if all they do is see you over and over and over and over, right? So you say you struggle with promotion, and that's a lot about what we talked about in Monster Producer this month. Conviction, telling better stories, convincing people through your conviction. And the biggest thing is I've started to tell more stories. Like you need to get away from selling your product. You need to get into selling a story. Okay? And get very good, even on a post. I'll see some people make posts and there's no story. Like when I'm trying to sell something, like I was selling something this weekend, and it was, I don't know, a coaching program or books or something, and I said, you know, at 18 years old, a coach told me to go buy the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that book changed my whole life. You see what I'm saying? And that turned me on to personal development and learning and growth, and that helped me to get to where I am today. We're running a special in my store the whole month of November for 25% off all of my books. See how I told a story versus said, go buy my books. Does that make sense? You guys, I was stressed out. I put on my regular schedule to go over there once a month. Got everybody to thank my body. I'm happier, feel better. I got more energy, whatever the case may be. Stories are what sell, not products. Okay? Gabe, where do you think you guys struggle in these 3 things?
Ours is definitely, I would say, consistent promotion.
Yeah, okay.
We have moments of good promotion.
Yep.
But it's not consistent. No.
Yeah.
They have some insight I don't.
I think that our promotion is way better than it was.
Yep. So think about this. Promotion is like, how do I stand out? How do I get up on this table and stand up above everybody else? Consistently. In the old days, politicians stood up on platforms. And they stood up on platforms to get above the noise so people could hear them. And they were in a position of authority. So to me, promotion is constant, frequent. I got a clear position. I got a lot of delivery. Like posting one time on Facebook is like throwing a pebble in the Pacific Ocean. Right? You need to promote so much that people go, I'm sick of you promoting. Like you need to lose some friends over your promotions. Right? Because those people ain't never going to buy anything from you anyway. If they defriend you, right? And you guys know I joke about having 5,000 friends, and every day I wake up I got $49.99. But then I got 200 or 300 over here trying to get in. So I say, somebody fell off. And I go over here and click confirm, and I'm back to 5,000 again. Does that make sense? So what do I care if I lose somebody they ain't never going to buy anything from me anyway, or support me? Okay? Because if you defriend me, you wouldn't support me anyway. So who cares? Okay? But I promote like crazy. I use my personal Facebook page to promote. I use my LinkedIn to promote. I use my Twitter, my Instagram. I promote like crazy. This is who I am. This is what I do for a living. Does that make sense? But it's beyond that. It's my whole deal, okay? Where do you guys feel like you struggle? Creating new revenue, current clients to a better state, or promotion? Say again? Okay. Are y'all spending X number of hours per day in outbound calls? Y'all are doing that now? And tell me, is that working or not working? Yeah, because I think in your business, people have to be reminded. Remind them how good it was. Remind them you need to slow down. Remind them that you need to come in. Because if they don't, they just get going and they go, that's a disposable thing. You know, I'll get to that later. Okay, it's a disposable thing. All right, Marvel, what about you? Creating new revenue, getting current clients to a better place, or promotion?
I'm going to say, well, we hired a marketing company now for promotion. I want to say creating revenue and creating more clients.
Okay.
Because, like you said, people see you everywhere.
Yep.
I think I saw you, and I think you're in the Toots,
Mhm.
or
Mm-hmm.
and I saw you. I'm not sure it was Buffalo Wild Wings, but I saw your face.
Yep.
Then I saw you at Insurance.
Yep.
And now it's just now I hear the name. Yeah, I remember that name.
Yeah.
Face right with it. So I want to do the same thing with our company.
Yeah.
Just get that name out there. That name on the
That's right. That's right.
So when they think of security, they think of my company.
That's right.
Coaching, they think of me.
That's right.
So
So,
three, I'll say.
so frequency, promotion, creation. Now, I want to close with this. When you're thinking about this sales cycle, I believe 100% in these numbers. 16% of all the people you talk to are going to have some early interest in your product or service. So if you're only talking, how many calls are y'all making a day now? Okay, you need to start tracking those.
Yeah, probably almost 100.
Okay, good. So you need to start tracking this. And let me tell you why you need to track it. You need to track it to see if this is true with you. Out of 100 calls, are 16 of them interested? Because typically, the percentage of early adopters or innovators is typically somewhere between 16 and 20%. I didn't say they're sold. They're just interested. So what I want our sales team doing is I made 37 calls this morning. I talked to 18 real people, okay? I pushed 5 of them to an event, for free, by the way. They're just coming to experience it. And you see what I'm saying? I want to see those numbers. Not for me, because I want to show them. If I make 80 phone calls, 16% of them are interested. If I make 4 phone calls, 16% of 4 is a pretty small number. So what typically what happens is you figure out, like if I own a law firm, I need to have somebody all day long calling, outbound calls. If I owned a restaurant, I want somebody calling every guest. When are you coming back? I noticed you hadn't been in 30 days. Does that make sense? You cannot automate this. Like I go to 9 Round, and sometimes I miss 9 Round, which is a boxing club. I miss a week or 2 weeks because I'm on the road. And they send me some automated email. Hey, isn't it time for you to punch somebody? You know what I mean? I'm like, no, what you need to do is pick up the phone and call me and say, Coach, you get your butt back in here. What's it going to take? If you couldn't come through the week, can you come on Saturday? I literally think it takes that phone call, not the automation that'll do it. Okay? So just remember, the reason I want you tracking your calls, how many did you make? How many live people did you talk to? How many voicemails did you leave? How many people did you push to class? And I want to show you that I do think it's about 16% that are just open. That don't mean, that don't mean, hey, you know, it means I'm somewhat interested in your product or service here. Okay? So here's the takeaway for today that I want you to go and take it back. From this point forward, we're all going to take very high levels of personal responsibility. Okay? And if I work for an owner that's a control freak, I want you to take what can you do. Think about it this way. What can you do to serve it up to her that she gives you more freedom and flexibility? And there's things you can say. Like you have an unlimited license to give me any feedback you need to feed. If something's not like, it's your company, something's not the way you want it, I'll change it. Do I have your permission to go do this, this, and this? Right?
The record you called a control freak, we did.
Oh, I know. I'm a control freak, so I can say that to other people. But Deborah, that makes sense? Listen, here's my point though. I don't want to be a control freak. When people show me they can do it, I let them run wild. One of those old walking horse thing. Let them run and walk, man. Let them run and walk, right? Don't. The worst thing with me is just waiting for me to tell you to do something. Like to me, go get it, man. If you mess up, screw up big, man. Just screw up, but don't screw up by sitting and waiting. It is like, well, hey, you did this. Yeah, I didn't like it. Don't do it again, Mr. McAlexander. Okay, I love saying his name. It's like Mac Alexander. It's like 2 names in one. Anybody got any questions for me? These courses should be. You got a question online?
First, he says his biggest struggle was promotion until he met you in September in Knoxville. He had his client appreciation this Wednesday at the White
Good.
House.
Nice.
And then he also said about what you were talking about earlier. Is it 80% lowering your standards, Coach? I tend to do things myself and stay in control, but not sure.
Yeah.
Well,
let's ask the guy who was in real estate that sold his company for $12 million. See, here's what his advice was to me. You can't control everything and expand at the same time. You're going to give up some control as you grow. If you guys had 40 employees, there's got to be some control given up. If I have 30 employees, the further it gets away from me, the less it's going to be 100% of the way I would do it. But to expand and scale, it's got to be like that. It's never going to be, right? Now, let me close with this statement, and that's a good question for Bo, is I don't think, number one, you can't do anything big. I'm friends with Johnny Carrabba. Johnny Carrabba founded the original Carrabbas. He owned one restaurant in Houston, Texas, and it was incredible. It was so good that people constantly came to him and wanted to invest in it. Like, please, let's take it to the world. Then they were just throwing money at Johnny, and he's like, no. This is my restaurant. I love this restaurant. Everybody loves this restaurant. I make a bunch of money with this restaurant. Outback came to him and said, we want to take your concept. We're looking for an Italian concept, and we don't think anybody in the world does Italian better than you. So can we take it and blow it up? And he agreed. So they started building little Carrabba's restaurants everywhere, little Johnny Carrabba restaurants everywhere. He went out on the road. Part of his job was to train those people. He got out there on the road and got sick that they couldn't do it like him. And he's like, I can't do this because they don't do it the way I do it at my restaurant. So he goes back to the founders of Outback and is like, I'm out. I don't want to do this. I want to go back to Houston and run my restaurant. They said, we'll give you 1% of total revenue forever. So all the money Carrabba's makes, Johnny gets 1% of it for the rest of his life. Gross revenue. And he took that deal. But he told me one night at dinner, he said, Coach, I feel like I sold my soul to the devil. He said, because it makes me sick when I go into a Carrabba's restaurant. That's my name. He said, that's my name. And when I go into those restaurants, and it is not anything close to my vision. Right? But here's the deal. I'm like, you still get 1% of gross sales, don't you, John?
Right.
Are you okay with that?
We like
Here's my point. My point is, he went back and built more restaurants. So he built one across the street that's called Mia's, and he built another one, and now he owns this whole area in Houston. And he has but he controls them. He goes in there, he sees the customers, he meets and greets people. You follow what I'm saying? But they took his concept and diluted it. Now, some of you would say, if I got 1% of every farmers in the world, and they didn't do it like I said it to do, it's okay. I'm okay with it. As you grow and expand, only you can say it's okay, right? So remember this 80% rule. If they do it 80% as good as the owner, I think it should be at least okay. I do not think you're compromising, by the way. I think it's, that's what I'm saying. Ask the person who sold his business for $12 million, who didn't even show up at the office. I guarantee they didn't do it like he would do it. But he didn't care. His management philosophy is, I'm going to pay you a bunch of money not to ever call me. That's the way this is going to work. Okay? That was his philosophy. Okay? All right, this has been a good class today, guys. High levels of personal responsibility when you go back. Okay? All right, have a good day. Thanks for coming. Thank you for the Baptist clap. I like that.